memory lane. I think that there's got to be a song that goes.
There's got to be
that.
like lyrics to go.
Lyrics
to.
that goes to that.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yes, Dan's excited now. He loves this song. Welcome to another installment of Movies Down Memory Lane, the show where three friends here get together and we talk about the movies that we love, the movies that mean that much to us. Not just the ones you're like, oh, that was good. No, it's the ones that have stuck with us over time. And sometimes maybe they came out a few years ago, but they really had a profound effect on us. They either linked to something personal in our lives, or they linked to something about our movie, like it changed our movie outlook, our movie taste, our movie, something very profound that came from that movie. And we come in and we talk about it. And each episode, one of us picks one. And this time around, last time it was my turn, and we did Field of Dreams. And so now we go over to Andrew, and Andrew decided that he wanted to not take it too far back, more in like his teen, like entering
it's a little further back than we think.
Yeah, but not really. It's in our youth, but like on the cusp of being a man.
Yeah, on the cusp of adulthood, you could say.
Yeah. And it's the 2008 film, The Dark Knight.
Yes. Yeah, 17-year anniversary it just celebrated last month. So that's why I said not too far away. And yeah, 2008 was a time ago. It was a different time, maybe several lifetimes ago for many of us, but I figured we would talk about this movie eventually, because I feel like not only am I'm skipping the jumping the gun.
God damn it!
Steven, you're
I'm all over that. I tell you what, before this show, I was in like a sprint to get in here, so I'm like,
okay.
my mind hasn't slowed down yet.
Gotcha. Ironically, is that this movie is incredibly well paced. So you're right there with the frenetic pacing of this movie. Because I've seen this movie so many times, but as I was saying, not only me or probably these guys here, this has got to be one of the most obsessed over movies from like the last 17 years. Like, sure. I feel like this movie culturally changed the zeitgeist of movies for like everyone who was around when it came out. Like when it hit incredibly hard, and it has had a staying power for the last 17 years. Like, even to this day, I feel like, there's been dozens of superhero movies that have come out, and I feel like everyone just always goes back to The Dark Knight for comparison's sake.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing and a bad thing.
I was just going to say, it's both good and bad. And I think in hindsight, this movie kind of, rocking the movie world has had both good and positive effects, looking back at it over the last 17 years or so. But for me personally, since we want to get into the nitty gritty, going back to 2008, I was, like I said briefly at the end of the previous episode of Movies Down Memory Lane, I was freshly 21 years old at the time. My birthday was like a month before this movie came out, because I think this came out July 18th of 2008. So right in the middle of the summer. And that was the summer of Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, and then The Dark Knight. It was like May, June, July, like 3 in a row. And that summer is kind of like the bedrock of the superhero movie. I don't know what you want to call it, Steven. The rise of it. I was going to say Renaissance, but not really Renaissance. It's kind really, of like a birth of the.
I think it was
fervor.
I think it was when it's like somebody gave the superhero genre a Viagra, and it just
an adrenaline shot to the heart,
just
a la Pulp Fiction.
Up,
got it all juiced up. And this movie, amongst all of them, I think is the one that did it the most, because not only did it take a genre that had been around for decades upon decades. It was getting a bit of a resurgence in 2000 with X-Men. Then you had the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, which brought it more to prominence. You had the X-Men sequels. You had at the time you had some lesser movies like Daredevil, Fantastic Four, a Blade sequel. Blade Trinity was around that time as well.
Spider-Man sequels.
Moves, but not like this. Not like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight kind of put it into a different atmosphere, and a lot of it is due to Christopher Nolan, whom at the time had made Batman Begins, but he had done some other indie films too. But it was really this movie that put him into the mainstream of people's minds, and it took the Batman to new heights in both positive and negative ways, as like the saying goes. But for me, 21 years old, 21 years old is kind of a milestone age for many a person. It's the they say 18 is when you're an adult, but 21 is really when you're an actual adult. I think you know what I mean. It's another milestone age. Um, so coming off of like that, and then this movie hitting, and then for me at the time of being a movie fan, I had really I was still kind of in my infancy of taking movies uber seriously, of really starting to learn about the craft of filmmaking and acting and screenplay writing and all of that kind of stuff. Kind of like the perfect storm of my um, movie education was coming into fruition of the time. And then lo and behold comes this movie, which does all of that and takes the genre of entertainment that I've loved since I was a kid, meshes it all together, and then we get The Dark Knight. Um, there's so much to say about this movie. I don't want to. I can go on.
Yeah. Wait, let's not.
I don't
Don't spill all your guts at the beginning
Oh
before
my gosh!
we
Other
get
than
a
saying
chance.
this movie, I was obsessed with it when it came out, and it stuck with me all the way to this day. I think that can be said for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's even upon a rewatch, it still holds up in many ways. But yeah, I don't know, Steven,
Well,
were you still working at a movie theater at the time when this hit?
oh yeah, this was. I started working at the movie theater in 2006-7 area, so no, earlier than that, 2005. So because I was a sophomore in high school. So yeah, I was already working at the theater for a few years before this came out, and I remember doing the midnight show for this movie, and it being probably one of my first great like in theater experiences, because you know we would we'd sell the tickets to people. I'd already seen the movie, so I was already aware of how good the movie was. Because I'd seen it a couple days earlier before the public could see it. And so I knew when things were going to happen. So I'd pop in the theater when the public was watching it, and just the reactions and just the cheering and just seeing, it was my first real experience at seeing people react to a movie in that visceral way in a theater, even though I was not in the theater the whole time. It was one of my first experiences doing that. And it just I still remember it today, especially the street scene where Joker and Batman he's in a tractor trailer truck and Batman's in his motorcycle. That scene, people just fucking went nuts in the theater over that scene.
What's interesting is I remember I think I saw it twice. I saw it when it came out, probably that opening night. I don't know if it was a midnight screening or if it was the next day, but it was one of those where I saw it right as it had come out. And then I saw it again, I think that weekend, because I took my brother for his birthday, because his birthday is on the 20th of July. And I took him, and I took him, I think after his birthday, like after his birthday party, we went that night. So it must have been that weekend or something. And even then, people immediately gravitated towards this movie. Like when the Joker first hit on scene, and when he had that sequence with all of the mobsters in like that kitchen, and he walks in and he does the magic trick joke, people immediately were just engrossed.
And of course, Heath Ledger had passed before
he had passed that. I think it was January or February. He had passed. So, and the marketing campaign for this movie, people don't know this who weren't around at the time, was kind of ingenious. They would do all kinds of cool marketing things to get people hyped up for this movie, because Batman Begins had been a big hit a couple of years earlier in 2005. But like I said, it's not like it is now, or was, several years ago at the height of the peak we just went through, where everybody would go and be like ready and set. You had to still have to market these movies. It's not like the MCU movies where it got to the point where you just put one out and it made $1 billion, pretty easy.
Now that
it wasn't that way in 2000.
That don't work anymore either. So
and now we're past that point. But this was kind of at the start of the rise of all of that popularity.
Yeah,
so they had to do it like an ingenious marketing campaign. The first teaser trailer hit, and it was just a tease and just the Joker's laugh in the background, just to get people hyped for this. It was something else. It was a different time for movies.
It was a different time. Let's get Dan's some feelings. Where were you at, Dan? You were like in your 30s.
35
right?
years old. I remember July 18th, midnight. Epic Deltona was a relatively new theater. That company had owned a little theater called the Beacon in my town. It was a sixplex, but they got this new theater, this newfangled thing called Epic XL screens. And we had 4 lines lined up because it was going to play in 4 theaters at midnight. And I was there probably 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or something like that. I got off of work, went right over there and got in line. When I walked out of that theater, I was blown away. I could not believe what I had just seen. I could not believe how realistic a comic book movie could be, that it was set in literally the real world. And it was like Batman really existed. This Chicago as a setting for Gotham City was phenomenal. I loved that in Batman Begins, and then they did it again with The Dark Knight, and then crap the bed in The Dark Knight Rises using stupid Pittsburgh.
I don't think that the movie sucks, but go ahead.
I can't stand Dark
Really?
Knight Rises.
I didn't know you were one with that take, Dan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of The Dark Knight Rises because of stupid Transformers Dark of the Moon was being filmed in Chicago at the time. So Nolan could not get Chicago. He ends up getting Pittsburgh, and the aesthetic looks completely different than Chicago, which was a perfect setting for Gotham City, if you ask me. It
really is. And he utilized that like immensely in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
well, he used upper and whacker. Upper whacker and lower whacker, which if you go to Chicago, you'll know upper whacker and lower whacker. He used that for that scene, the truck scene, the flipping of the truck and the motorcycle. He used that. That was all on upper and lower whacker. The bridge, you could see the bridges, certain bridges, the river. It's clearly Chicago. And they actually blew up a hospital that they were going to rebuild, the new hospital. So they blew up a hospital for the hospital scene that got blown up and stuff. It's just the most realistic comic book movie I had ever seen up until that point. And I believe it's still the most realistic portrayal of a superhero in the real world I have ever seen. Till this day, it's still my number 1 comic book movie I've ever watched. And I've watched a lot of them over the years. Just phenomenal. And R.I.P. Heath Ledger. I mean, it just, I know you don't want me to go on forever and ever, but Jack Nicholson said this. He gave Heath Ledger advice. He said, you gotta be careful. This role will take over your life. And it did take over. He couldn't sleep. He was taking medicine. He was mixing his medicines, and he overdosed accidentally. And because he couldn't sleep, because the role, it was so intense that it took over his life, which is what Jack Nicholson told him to be careful about. And, to this day, we got the second posthumous Oscar for acting with Heath Ledger after Peter Finch for "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." So I mean, I could go on forever about this movie. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Dan was saying, that is kind of the uniqueness of this movie, is the fact that it was a completely different vibe, energy, aesthetic, completely different take on that genre of the time, which was kind of looked at as being more for entertainment for a younger audience, because that's kind of how the way comic books have been viewed. I mean, to this day, they're still kind of viewed like that for the most part by many people, but Nolan took it seriously. He took everything about Batman and his world and all of that, stripped out all of the comic book elements, and gave a as realistic as you could possibly give when it comes to the comic book world. That's why a lot of people kind of criticize the third film, as Dan was just saying, is because a lot of liberty was taken in terms of suspending disbelief and things like that, which you kind of have to do with these movies anyway. But for The Dark Knight, you can do that with Batman, because Batman is so set within the real world with real themes of real stuff going on, that you could strip all that away. And that's what Nolan did. And it was kind of the first time that we had really seen someone take this genre really, really seriously. Um, and yeah, it put it into an atmosphere of like more prestigious cinema, prestigious with a quote, because it's all,
Well,
subjective, whatever.
It is, but the public kind of pushed this movie into that
Oh,
status
yeah.
because, of course, the big hoopla was that it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, and then this kind of changed the Oscars going forward as we know it. As after this year, they upped the amount of nominations going forward because people really thought that this movie should have been in there, and it's debatable. I mean, if you go back now, I'm sure a lot of people would have changed their minds. Because of how much this film has kind of been able to stand the test of time, and the performances and the direction and just, where we're at with Nolan now. At the time he was just a few movies in.
Yeah, this was I believe at this point he had done Following, Insomnia, what's the
Batman Begins.
Memento, Batman Begins, and what did he do? Did he do The Prestige after Batman Begins?
Yeah, Prestige after.
Yeah, because it was one of those times when Nolan would do like a Batman movie, his own movie, a Batman movie, Inception, which was his own movie, and then Dark Knight Rises, and then he went on to do all the stuff that we've seen him do over the last several years.
Anything he wants to do.
Then he got carte blanche to do whatever.
This is either his fifth or sixth movie, I believe.
But still, he was still not like. I think Batman Begins is the movie that actually put him on the map, and then then people like took him. Then they saw The Dark Knight, they're like, "Fuck, this guy's the shit." Then it was solidified with The Dark Knight.
Because talk about success, because also this movie had success across the board. Critics, superhero fans, comic book fans, general audiences. This movie made $1 billion, specifically at a time where back in the 2000s, movies didn't really make $1 billion. It's a different economic world back then than it is now.
And you didn't have YouTube, where that YouTube and Twitter space were just like blew up.
Yes,
it made $1 billion, but we didn't know it was making $1 billion. We just kept on going to see it because we loved it so much.
Nowadays you can market things through the internet and social media and all that kind of stuff. They did that back then, but nowhere near the way they do it now. I mean, things like Facebook and Twitter were very young at the time. I don't even know if Twitter was around yet in 2008. I mean, MySpace was, I think, still around, but kind of on its last legs as Facebook really was dominating the social media scene.
Yeah, I think it's 2007, 2008 is when Facebook really took off.
Yeah. So it's not like it is now in terms of the internet marketability of movies. So this movie was able to hit everybody in that realm at that time. It was a phenomenon. It really was. Then you started getting people dressing up to go to comic book conventions, dressing up for Halloween as the Joker. Even to this day, you've got, multimedia or formats of statues and toys and games and posters and books. And they even started incorporating certain elements of the Dark Knight into the comic books with the Heath Ledger's Joker character. And the Joker had always been like a popular Batman foe, but I think this took it to another a level of fandom and popularity. We had gotten Jack Nicholson's Joker in '89. We had Mark Hamill's Joker on the Batman the Animated Series, which many of us grew up with. And of course we had Cesar Romero back in the '60s, with Adam West. But the Heath Ledger's Joker really took things up to the next level, to the point where people are super big fans of the Joker now. Of course, that his popularity probably led to him being overused in the comic books and shows and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's every time we get a new Batman, who's going to be the Joker now? That's what we get every time.
I mean, but the thing about the character is that he's kind of an enigma. It's like,
right, you can do so many things.
You can tweak him a little bit to make him different and still be it can still be great. And I'm sure we're going to get some version of him in the next two iterations of Batman we're about to get. So, but let's get more specific here about your feelings instead of just blabbering on about how good the movie is.
The movie is, because we all know how good it is. By this point.
Yeah. We don't need to explain that. It's been so many years of going through that on the internet and where else. But so, what is it about The Dark Knight that is so personal to you specifically that makes this a movie that's down your memory lane?
Right. I think I hinted at it a little bit in my intro, the timing of it all. 2008, 21 years old, just starting to get really more serious into movies, getting more serious. That's kind of around 2007, 2008 when I started actually collecting movies. So collecting DVDs at the time was definitely, on my mind as well. So I was starting to get into comic books a little bit around a little later than that, but starting to think about getting into comic books and stuff. But I had always been a fan of superheroes ever since I was a little kid. So obviously, I already had that built into going into this movie at that time. Starting all the way, one of my first movie going experiences, coincidentally Batman related, is seeing Batman Returns in 1992. Came out in 1992. I was like 5 years old. I remember going to the theater to see that. Then before that, I had seen the old reruns of the Adam West series from the 60s. I had the 1989 Batman on VHS. I had the movie poster. I had the toys. So I've been a Batman fan ever since I was so super young. Obviously, it's not a big of a stretch to say that Batman is my favorite superhero of all time. So I had all of that built into going into this movie. Little bias, I would say, little bias. I like even as a modern adult, the most comic books I have are Batman. I was just thinking earlier of like, how would I rank the tiers of like entertainment franchises that I like the most? It's like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Batman, like in that order.
Really?
So it's like that's how much of a big fan I am of Batman. So when The Dark Knight hit, and the fact that it was just so like amazing at that time, it was kind of like I said, the perfect storm. To the point where I've owned it on DVD, I've owned it on Blu-ray twice, I've owned the 4K, I own the screenplay, I've got the soundtrack on CD. I've been obsessed with this movie since like 2008. There was a time where I would just watch this movie like over and over again.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And just because it was just so good, I couldn't get enough of it. And it was coincidentally, as I hadn't rewatched this movie since I think 2018, which I think is when I first got this. So it had been quite a few years since I'd seen it, but I knew the movie so well that you get to the point where when you can recite the lines of a movie and you know every scene back to back to back, you've seen it enough where you could go a couple of years and not skip a beat. But
what do you
also,
think? I want to ask you a question. What do you think? I think one of the best opening scenes, and it's been ripped off numerous times in heist movies and animated shows and things like that. What do you think about the opening heist scene at the bank and the killing of the and then he gets involved. Well, he told me to do it, and the buses.
What's fascinating about it is
that was just amazing. I mean, you talk about one of the most incredible scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene, you get that right off the bat.
And what is interesting is introducing the villain first is kind of fascinating because you don't see that happen in a lot of these movies. And I think that set up the movie for
that's actually kind of an animated thing. Thing.
Like that's kind of how the old Batman the animated series would start.
Really just TV in general would a lot of times when there's shows like this, they set up the villain first and then get into the show.
And then they bring in the hero. I mean, what's interesting is we had already seen the Batman established in Batman Begins, so we didn't really need to see him right away. But what is interesting is we get to see the Joker do his stuff with the bank heist, and then we see the Batman confronting some villains and whatnot and doing his stuff. So we get to see kind of this dynamic difference between the two. And that is kind of this whole movie just playing on the fact that the Batman and the Joker are so closely connected to one another. They're like two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? There's the famous interrogation scene where the Joker pretty much just tells him that you're only a few steps away from being me. Don't pretend like you're all that better than me, because you're not. You're not even like the cop. You're not even like the good guys like the cops think they are. You know what I mean? You're pretty close to being me. And that's been a riff on Batman and the Joker in the comics forever. But the opening of the movie, what is interesting is people compare it to the bank heist scene in Heat. And and that's actually very apropos because it is very similar to that. In terms of just like the editing and the angles and the energy, and the Hans Zimmer score right away in this movie is incredible. This was one of the first times outside of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings where the score is really noticeable to me at that time. Because, I knew who John Williams was. I'd watched Star Wars since I was a little kid. I knew that. Howard Shore with Lord of the Rings, it's sweeping, it's epic, you can't miss it. But then, this was the first time I knew who Hans Zimmer was. I didn't know that, I listened to him in Gladiator years before. I listened to him in Lion King years before when I was a kid.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean. I didn't, because at that time I wasn't paying attention to any of this until this point in my movie viewing life. And right away, like, I became a massive fan of Hans Zimmer. But yeah, the opening of this movie is so good because it sets up the Joker so well. You get that reveal of him, and the music hits, and it's just so good.
What's so interesting about it to me, and it's what we learn through the movie, is that the Joker talks about, one of his main points is that he's an agent of chaos. He don't make he says this whole speech. He's like, I don't make plans. I'm like a dog. If I ever caught a car, I wouldn't know what to do with it. But we know that that's not really true, because
we know he's a big liar. Well, he lies throughout the whole movie.
That's what's interesting, is because he talks about how he's all about chaos and he don't make plans, but he obviously makes plans.
Because the opening of the movie is so planned down to the T.
If that didn't go on the way he wanted it to go, then it, like, if he didn't tell everybody to take out somebody, then you know what I mean? Like, and then also like
go right in line with the rest of the puzzles.
And of course, all these other things that he does, get escaping prison by planting a bomb inside of a guy that gets in a cell, and then like just that he has so many plans. He's just
the hospital.
He just the way he does it is so chaotic.
Yeah,
and he creates so much chaos.
If anything, it's so meticulously planned out too.
Yeah, it's almost like it does put him in that sense of where Batman is intelligence wise, that he's able to, be the opposite of Batman in the sense of his morals. And that's what the movie's talking about, is that these guys are the same on one level, but it's Batman's morals that are being challenged in this film. That's the point. So like,
Joker is
the good guy who's supposed to be the district attorney, the guy that's going to put away the gangsters and put away all the bad guys, and turns the good guy into a bad guy.
He corrupts him, he breaks him down so far.
What's interesting is that he's trying to break down Bruce Wayne the whole time. Well, not Bruce Wayne, but Batman the whole time, and he can't do it. But he's also has like a side thing going on where he's trying to break down Harvey Dent, and he's doing it consistently throughout the movie.
Well, what I think it is that it's all about Batman. I think he's all about trying to get Batman to bring him down to his level. Yeah, and so and when he's attacking Dent, that's part of it, because Dent is part of what is getting to Batman is getting to Gotham. So if he's hurting Gotham, he's hurting Batman. So he knows that Dent is like the shining hope of Gotham's future.
Dent is the White Knight. He is what Batman is doing in the darkness at night. Dent is doing it in the daylight during the day, in terms of going after criminals on a legal level. Batman realizes that kind of the law and cops and legality doesn't really work in Gotham, so that's why he does the vigilantism. But if there's a hope that actually does work, he doesn't need to be Batman anymore, and that's an interesting kind of thing. A lot of comic book purists kind of hate that aspect of Christopher Nolan's Batman, is that he doesn't really want to be Batman. He's almost begrudgingly being Batman. You know what I mean? Because he has to, not because he wants to. And we've kind of with Dan kind of talking about earlier with Dark Knight Rises, is that he does walk away from it after this. You know what I mean? He does no longer become Batman, which pisses off a lot of comic book purists, because the whole idea is that Batman can never not be Batman, because it's so part of who he is from a comic book perspective that it's who he is now. Bruce Wayne is the mask that he wears,
sure,
not the Batman anymore. It's kind of the opposite with Superman. Where
Yeah,
Clark Kent's the real guy, Superman.
Yeah, I
is-
think I think Nolan probably just looked at it as like, like if there's a person that is as disciplined as Bruce Wayne is
Mm.
at becoming the man that could be that guy, he should have the discipline to be able to walk away.
Well,
And so,
that's also said. That's what happens when you set it in reality. That's
Sure.
more of a realistic perspective
Yeah.
of like, also
Anybody
like physical toll that
Yeah.
he's taking on his body
Yeah.
too, which we see later.
anybody that's physically and mentally capable of like obsessing into becoming that good at what he does to build and detective skills and technology is smart enough to know when to stop.
Yeah,
And so
and that's the realistic aspect of it.
yeah.
Whereas in comic books, you can throw that realistic aspect of it forever. I mean, Batman's been around since like the 40s, so
And
he's been doing
honestly-
it for a while.
And honestly, that's the Batman that Joker is trying to. That is one thing that's a little bit off. Is that Joker thinks he's this one thing, but just because he's out there looking like a Batman, but really, like, he's not quite as insane. He's not quite like what Robert Pattinson's going for in his Batman, where he's like obsessed with being Batman and going out there and fighting crime.
That's a more mentally disturbed version of Batman.
I think the new Batman with Robert Pattinson is probably the closest to that, because even before that, like, I don't think any of the previous Batmans have gotten that. Honestly,
what is interesting is this is an argument for a way different time.
Yeah,
I think that the Ben Affleck Batman, when we first meet him, is at that point.
That's pretty
Like,
good.
I think he's
forgot about
psychologically been broken by Gotham because he's been doing it for like 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
To the point where his mind is so twisted that he views everything as a threat now because he's been fighting this for so long.
No, I agree. But so essentially, you're saying that because of that, the Dark Knight's a movie that essentially just got you more serious about movies and started making you. It's kind of like your Matrix. Mine was the Matrix, and it got me to start delving into movies in different ways instead of just the actors and like, oh, this is cool, like it was like, well, kind of
how was this made?
How was this made? The learning of the music.
You're not going to want to know what mine is.
Nolan is actually, for those of you who want to get into filmmaking,
it's way back.
Yeah. For those of you who want to get into kind of like the more technical aspects of filmmaking, Nolan's kind of a good place to start because he does everything practically. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's
like
why
I said, he's built a building.
I brought up Chicago. That's why I brought up Chicago and the difference between
by everything. I'm talking most things he does.
It looks real because it is real.
Well, let me say this.
Go to the places in the movie and stuff, and that's what you want out of a superhero movie. Wow, this is a real place, not some Cleveland to make it look like Metropolis or Toronto to make it look like whatever.
One of my only real negatives that I wish they would have done in this movie is the Harvey Dent makeup, which was not makeup. It was CGI'd.
I said it's mostly practical. I was talking more of like
no. I know he really goes out of his way.
The set pieces, blowing up stuff. On Oppenheimer, he detonated a bomb with no payload.
Sure. No. He's always going out of his way to make it look as real as possible and use practical effects as much as possible. And he usually enhances things with special effects and stuff like that. But like, I think that in The Dark Knight, one of the only main things that we could get into minutes of story and character choices and things like that. But like, I think that this was a moment where, why didn't we go full practical on Harvey Dent's face? Like, that would have just made it so much better.
Really? I thought that was practical effects. That's crazy.
No, hell no. Watch it again, dude.
No, I believe it's like green screen.
It's a green. It's definitely a CGI.
If you watch the behind the scenes stuff, I think they show how they did it with like the layering of effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it pops more in 4K than probably the old high definition. But
I want to ask you. Okay, Rachel Dawes was played by.
How about we finish our thought on this first before we skip to something else?
What were we on with the makeup?
Talking about the CGI of Harvey Dent. So
I was good looking. I thought
I was like the eye, like especially the eye. Like if you watch the eye, the other eye is just like it just doesn't look real. It looks like it looks waxy.
It looks real to me.
Well, then I guess you're living in a fantasy world.
He
keep in mind-
looked realistic to me.
It
as
did.
far as
Well,
I'm concerned.
it didn't look. It looks fake to
It
me.
still holds up. It still works. I know what you're saying, because it definitely, especially watching it now in high definition on a large screen TV, and it's been so many years later, some special effects in some movies don't hold up.
Sure.
Some do. And
It works fine. I
It
just think
works,
that
but
it's
you can
just-
tell. You know what I mean? But you can tell.
yeah, but it's just weird that that's the moment where he decided to not use practical.
and it's
like, why
tough.
didn't he?
It's tough when you're grounding the rest of the movie in reality so harshly, and then you do something that's so out of reality.
Yeah,
You know what I
just
mean?
don't understand.
Like
There's
someone's
so many-
missing half their face.
so many amazing
Yeah.
effect like makeup artists that could have fucking done that without CGI. That's what's so interesting to me. I don't know why we didn't throw some awesome makeup. It's not like he had to spend the whole movie looking like that. There
It
was
was
like
just the third act.
there was like 3 scenes that he had to do with makeup on if they would have done it.
There's the bar scene, the car scene, and then the finale.
Yeah.
Really,
That's it.
He's
and then the hospital stuff. The
Yeah,
hospital
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's probably 5 to 10 minutes of screen time in the makeup if they'd have done makeup. But that was the only real negative for me. Like when I was rewatching it, I was like, this is paced well. The editing is amazing. Like the edit, like it's like the way the movie moves. There's like nothing that feels like it's wasting its time.
Yeah, there's no wasted
You know,
time in
Who's
this
the
movie at all.
cinematographer on it? Is it Deakins?
Oh,
I think it's Wally
no,
Pfister.
No, it's Wally Pfister.
Oh
yeah.
God, he's amazing.
I
Well,
don't
Yeah.
think Deakins has never worked with Nolan, which
Really?
it would be
Wow.
amazing, but
Wow.
no.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Never, it's never happened.
if I
He
had
does-
just one,
It's Hoyt Van Hoytema is this guy now.
yeah. If I just had one thing, what was it? The girl from
Rachel
Dawson's
Dawes.
Creek, Rachel
Katie
Dawes,
Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. I did not like Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel.
Really? People
I
have the
thought Katie
effect with you.
Holmes was a better Rachel Dawes. I don't understand why you can't keep the same actress in the same role when you're bringing a character from one movie to the other movie, unless it's a contract dispute like Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle as Rhodey Rhodes and stuff like that. There was a contract dispute as far as that goes, and the same thing.
There is an answer to that. I think it was
Ruffalo.
something to do with like
She
some
had something else.
scheduling issue or something like that. But I mean, I do agree with you. Like you know me, I'm a Dawson's Creek fan. So
Nice.
Katie Holmes in the role was cool to see her at that time in that role in Batman Begins, and I would have loved to see her take on furthering that role.
Yeah.
And obviously you want to see the same people go into the sequel. Maggie Gyllenhaal did a fine job, but the thing is, the character, you don't have, like, unfortunately, one of Nolan's biggest, I would say, weaknesses as a filmmaker is love stories, is romance, is anything like that. And unfortunately for me, I guess this would be my other negative, is that we're supposed to believe that Bruce Wayne and her have some kind of real like romantic connection.
Yeah.
And honestly,
that aspect is very underwritten.
It's underwritten, and I think it's only based on that they have history.
That they grew up together
they
as like
grew up
best
together.
friends.
And so they've never actually been together ever, because he's been gone the whole time. And then when he came back, he became Batman. So they've never really had a relationship. But the weight against it, this movie where you have Harvey Dent with Rachel Dawes, doesn't feel like it needs to be there, because it's like he isn't going to have no chance with her anyway, because they've never been together. You know, like what's the point of even
that? All of that like stuff from Batman Begins. This movie really relies on you remembering all of that, all of their scenes from that movie, to really understand their relationship in this movie.
Sure.
That is kind of the one thing when you have to keep in mind that this is a sequel and things have already been established in the past. But even that stuff that was established in the past wasn't quite romantic. It was more like best friends type of stuff.
Protective sister thing.
Yeah, like really close friend type of stuff. The romance aspect kind of wasn't quite there.
I guess the only thing it brings to the movie, to me, at least my canon of the character, is that it makes Batman sadder of a character, because it gives you that visual, it gives you that idea that he's somebody that can't have real relationships with anybody except
Yeah.
for Alfred. Alfred's
And that's
like
literally something straight out of the comics. A Batman slash Bruce Wayne has had so many different relationships that just kind of fail over time, with various characters throughout the comics. I mean, one of the biggest one is Selena Kyle, which
Sure.
they've brought back again to the big screen with the Robert Pattinson character. We saw it in Batman Returns. We saw it in the animated series. It's been in comic books for decades. It's,
of course,
you know,
they
that's a
they
big
bring
one.
her into the Dark Knight Rises.
You're
Yeah, I
right.
did like Anne Hathaway.
And they did too.
But I want to ask you guys about, look, you know, my favorite movie of all time is Casablanca, and there's six quotes in the movie that are considered the AFI's 100 greatest quotes of all time. This movie at least has 4 or 5 quotes
Oh,
that
yeah,
are
there's some
just
good-
like
good-
some of the
good
most
lines in
memorable. Why so serious? And
Nice.
you know, all these great quotes that are just people just use today. What? How do you
I think
that's
Joker
gonna,
has most of them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the Joker. People root for the Joker when they watch this movie now. Like
but also Alfred has a good quote.
Michael Caine
also-
is kind of an unsung hero. Of these
Also,
movies.
Harvey Dent has a quote. I mean,
Oh yeah, it's always
this-
darkest before the dawn.
Well,
Yeah.
his is you either die a hero or live long enough.
Live
to see
long enough
yourself.
to become the villain.
so
Which
when it
ironically
comes
is
to great
foreshadowing of what
movies,
happens to him.
is this going to be considered one of the all-time great movies because of the memorable? Not only is it a great movie, but those quotes. You remember quotes that becomes part of our vernacular, our everyday, how we talk in life, and those, you know, I'll be back, and you know, these type of things. Nobody knows where that stuff's going to come from. Even I saw a documentary about Jaws, and Cameron was talking about. He had no idea "I'll be back" was going to turn out to be what
Sure.
it was. These quotes are just iconic quotes. So you think this is going to help its legacy move on and move forward as one of the great movies?
Well, I
Because
would.
of that?
I'd say it's already has quite a
It's
legacy.
already there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if because they've been making lists lately, but when it comes to like best movies of the 21st century, the first quarter of the 21st century, I would say The Dark Knight is in there.
Yeah.
Probably,
I voted it in my 10.
yeah, I easily like.
I
I
accidentally put
Not in my
Oppenheimer.
10, but it's.
would
in-
say it's
in-
on the list.
it's on
I
the list.
actually put 2 Nolan films in there by accident. I only wanted to put one, and I
Right.
forgot I had to put The Dark Knight and put Oppenheimer in there too. I screwed up on my 10.
That's fine, but I'm just saying it's already been it's captured the zeitgeist, you know, since it came out and all the way to this day, where new people actually are discovering it for the first time. Younger audiences are discovering it for the first time. They're starting to kind of understand why everyone compares, you know, other superhero movies to this movie. You know, it's no Dark Knight, but it's good. You know, how many times have you heard that?
Yeah, no.
You know,
There's a level, and then there's a level. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think.
Endgame, The Dark Knight. That's the level, really.
that people, yeah, when people compare other movies, they put it on this like dark. Is it on a scale of the Dark Knight or whatever's at
Well,
the bottom?
and I
Howard the
think,
Duck,
and I
whatever.
think, and this is where, like, when we talk about the negative effects.
Yeah, that was my
this
next
movie
transition.
Was going to say that. So, and like Hollywood does a lot, they take the wrong things from what a movie does that makes it successful. And of course, what they took from it was, the realistic, harder edge movie version of the comic book movie. And really, what made this movie successful was that there's a certain amount of patience and good writing and good filmmaking that happened in this movie that
Yeah.
most of these movies don't get.
You
That's
can't
what- that's-
reproduce
You know,
certain magic. You can
Yeah, yeah.
try. You may get there. You may not get there.
sure.
But this movie has had its fingerprints and influences on a lot of other movies that have come after it, to both positive and negative ways. I know where you're going with it.
And
Specifically with DC. Specifically
Sure.
with Warner Brothers and DC.
and this movie was influenced by, and that's the other thing too, is like, this is at a time where we're not trying to create a machine that creates the same type of comic book movie, which Marvel eventually does. It just replicates the same vibes over and over again. This is when we still had open season, and so Nolan creating this vibe of Michael Mann crime movie with, you know, action movie, you know, like that's something that was new. And I think the only movie that I can think of that was shortly after it that could have been, you know, like when Edgar Wright was developing Ant-Man, that could have been a situation where we got an interesting Ant-Man movie that was in a different genre. Of course, that got scrapped because they wanted to make an Ant-Man movie that fell in line with the rest of Marvel.
Yeah.
So like, but this is what Nolan did, is he made it a singular thing and created its own vibe and took inspiration from filmmakers that were real filmmakers that were making distinct films. And so like, people that love comic books don't necessarily understand Michael Mann. They don't know who Michael Mann is. So they don't understand that this is a cool thing. He makes movies that look cool. And you got the heist, and you got, you think of the beginning of the film as Michael Mann influenced. I think of the scene in the streets after the tractor trailer falls over and he's in the streets and he has the Tommy gun and he's just like the wire gets caught in his face and he's like, he's like just going up the street, like, come on, hit me. That makes me think of Michael Mann, like the edgy in the streets. There's some music, but then it like quiets down for a minute and it's like really authentic. The guns sound authentic.
But
and
the
like
cinematography too.
Yeah.
And the blue hue to everything is that Michael Mann feel.
And we can't understate Heath Ledger's Joker's performance, in my opinion, was what really blew me away at the time. Like, really made me be like, okay, this is a craft, and there are elite people who can perform this craft on a whole other level than I thought really existed.
And some people would say
at that time
that this is just Joker's movie.
Right.
That was one thing that people used to say a lot, is like, the only reason this movie's good is because Joker's so good and it's Joker's movie. And I'm like, I mean, he's great.
You can make that argument and I wouldn't disagree with you.
Yes,
that it's more of a Joker movie than it is a Batman movie. You could maybe make that argument.
I think you could, but I think it's just that Joker's sexier. I think
he's cooler. The bad guy's always cooler. Darth Vader, got a Darth Vader vibe.
Batman had a sexiness in Batman Begins, where we saw the rise of Batman and he went through everything. And now that we know who Batman is, the sexiest thing that happens to Batman in Dark Knight is that he gets a new outfit. And then we get to see some more of his gadgets. We get to see the motorcycle. Them things are the kind of the evolution in this movie. But I think the evolution for him is what he has to fight when it comes to the Joker in the, not killing people, not and proving that Gotham, that people are internally good at the core, and that they're not what Joker says, which is they're going to just, as he says, at the first sign of trouble, they're going to just leave you behind.
Yeah, when the chips are down, these people will eat each other. You'll see.
Yeah.
They'll cast you out like a leper.
Yeah, he's got, he's
got the best lines.
I still think Christian Bale's probably the best Batman, but there is some lacking there. I think I wish there was more that we could have done with him in this movie. But it's a 2.5-hour movie, and we spent a lot of it there was like 4 set pieces in this movie that are huge, and you got to like keep the movie going. And I think we spent so much time, Bruce Wayne's central, when we slow down with him, it's usually about Rachel.
Ironically,
and as we've said, Rachel's not that important. Honestly, it's his only tie to outside of being Batman. I think that's it.
But also like Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon.
We forgot about Gary Oldman's really good in this movie.
He's amazing. He's amazing as Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah,
Gary Oldman to me
when
is
he's
like
with
at the
corruption.
peak of he's like really, he's in Harry Potter at this time. He's in the Batman movies.
He's decided to play some good people for a little while.
Yeah, he's been in like every major franchise other than Star Wars. I think at that point
he's been in a lot of them. And I love Gary Oldman as Gordon, and their relationship was really good. And that's what I want to say is like, no one, this is when you start saying, well, really Batman Begins, but you could start seeing where he started getting really good actors to portray the characters in these movies.
His casting is really good.
His casting's always been good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had Guy Pearce
really good.
way back when, Joe Pantoliano and stuff like that.
That's another part of like what blew me away at the time is I didn't start paying attention to like casting, like even things like casting I wasn't paying attention to until this movie.
I mean, they got not Wally Pfister. They got William Fichtner to play that bank manager guy for one scene.
But you didn't really know who William Fichtner is until then.
And at that time, he was on like
to put him on the map. Really,
he was on Prison Break on TV.
they got
He's also
Anthony,
in Heat, by the way.
yeah,
He's also in Heat.
yeah, and he's in Heat. And they got Anthony Michael Hall to play some newscaster guy, like just like random people,
Yeah,
I mean, but he's got littered with Oscar winners with Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman and Gary Oldman and obviously Christian Bale. Would win later on, and Keith Ledger would win for that movie. I mean, the movie's got like at least a handful of Oscar winners in it, and it shows a trend that he would just get big name Oscar contending people that knew how to act in his movies. He wouldn't just get some slappy off the street to do, he got musicians sometimes, and like Dunkirk, get Harry Styles or whatever his name is. But he really focused on make sure he got people of quality, even in roles like Commissioner Gordon, even in the more,
he has his Rolodex
and the Morgan Freeman character. These you could put anybody in these roles, and he made sure that he put these roles with seasoned quality actors that were gonna, when you were watching them, you weren't going to take your eyes off them.
Sure. I think one of his main templates is that his leads don't always have to be the biggest leads, but the supporting cast around them has to be seasoned. Like you said, like Dunkirk, the main actors, most of the main actors are not well known, but then you have
Mark Rylance,
Tom Hardy's one of the pilots.
Kenneth
even though you never see his face.
Cillian Murphy pops up.
Branagh's in there.
Yeah,
and then you get
Oppenheimer's the same way.
Yeah, Oppenheimer's. Cillian Murphy's known, but he's not like super A-lister until more like now.
Robert Downey Jr. is a sleazy politician, whatever kind of guy.
Tenet's got David Washington in it, and then the rest of the cast is
Robert Pattinson. Ironically so.
So yeah, he's got a thing. But before we start to close it up, if we haven't already, by the gushing we've already done, what is the favorite moment? What is the favorite moment in the film? Dan.
Well, for me, it's the end where you have to make a decision. The guys on the boats, they got to make a decision. Do the regular people kill the prisoners, and do the prisoners, the guy on the prisoners boat, kill the regular people? It's that catch-22 to me is always going to be the moment in that movie that is just always going to be in my head. I'm always going to think about, what would I do? Would I kill the prisoners, or you know what I mean? Would I to survive or something like that? That it really makes this movie real. It really puts it into a level that is, you really get this kind of realistic kind of life and death scenario in a comic book movie.
Yeah. Andrew, what you got a favorite?
To me, I know this is easy, maybe even like low-hanging fruit type of pick here, because I think not everyone, many people pick it. It's the interrogation scene. Okay. It's the interrogation scene between Batman and the Joker, because everything is kind of laid out in terms of who these two people are and their philosophies and what their relationship is between each other, and what they think of kind of a lot of things going on in general. And I think they play it both really, really well. But it's an acting clinic from Heath Ledger. He goes through everything in that scene, just like from making jokes to getting beat up and laughing maniacally about it. It's so quintessentially like hysterical Joker comic book type vibes. Because it also shows like the desperation that the Batman would go to get answers, and ultimately you come out to find out later that the Joker is in complete control of the whole situation. Yeah. When you think that this person who's clearly mentally not there, you wouldn't think that he would be able to be in control of that entire situation, but he is. And even if he looks like he's not, it's a masterful scene, and it's close quarter, tight editing. The lighting in there is an interrogation room lighting. It's so good, and it's visceral too. Like he's throwing him around up against the glass, and it breaks. And then he bars the door. It's good stuff. Really good stuff. It's one of the best scenes I've ever seen.
Something off of that. I had an opportunity to buy that photo with Heath Ledger sitting at the desk with the vest for $3. And I didn't buy it back then, like right after he had passed. And I still to this day regret. I look up that autograph. Heath Ledger's autograph has gone through the roof.
I was gonna say, was it autographed? Because that's
it was autographed. That photo
hard to get now.
Autographed $300 back then was a lot of money to spend on an autograph.
Yeah,
but
ironically
now that autograph of Heath Ledger as that character, there aren't that many autographs of Heath Ledger.
Celebrity autographs are expensive in general nowadays, but especially for someone who is obviously no longer with us and such an iconic role.
I should have bought it. I should have bought that autograph back then because
I'm just thinking of those celebrity autographs. I wonder what a Christian Bale autograph goes for. No, I'm just curious because I know he doesn't really do conventions and stuff. He's too big, you know.
I don't see him as being one that cares about giving out autographs.
No,
he probably stays as low key as possible.
In my head, there are some like actors and actresses and stuff like that who do conventions, and you're like, oh, that makes sense that they're doing conventions. And there are some that will do conventions once every while, and you're like, wow, that's surprising that they're doing a convention. And I don't think Christian Bale, outside of like San Diego Comic-Con, which is, you know, mostly to market the movies, I don't see him doing those types of things yet, at least.
He was in a Thor movie. I think he might have done some stuff for that. But
yeah, when they go to like Hall H and they have the big panels afterward, sometimes they'll sign autographs. I know they did that with Justice League several years ago, where they brought out the whole cast, and then afterward they were, you know, signing autographs and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think Christian Bale would.
I think that was a legitimate autograph, though, considering he passes 6 months before the movie comes out, and there's an autograph photo of that scene of him sitting at that table.
Ironically, you bring that up.
The green shirt and the whole. You think that would have been a legitimate autograph?
You could probably get it authenticated.
Oh, there is. Oh yeah.
Usually, some of those things come with certificates of authenticity to back it up.
Yeah.
What is interesting is that we didn't even bring this up. People hated the fact that he was cast as the Joker.
Yeah. He was the gay Joker because he was in the Brokeback Mountain.
They thought it wasn't until that first teaser hit that I heard, and they heard the Joker laugh, that people started like kind of coming around to it. And then the teaser trailer started hitting, and I was telling my brother last night when they were doing the marketing. Remember how they would release like clips of the movie on like late night talk shows and clips of the movie online during like Super Bowls or whatever the case may be.
Wasn't there like a timed thing that you had to watch at a certain time, and there was a trailer.
That was the marketing I was talking about.
Yeah,
they were doing that, but they released a scene online where it was the scene where he comes into the fundraiser and he shoots the gun in the air and he's asking, "Oh, where's Harvey? Where's Harvey?" And then Maggie Gyllenhaal comes out and whatnot. That's the scene they released to promote the movie. I think it was about then that they were like, okay, this is actually a cool version of the Joker. And we still get those cast things. They're fighting about who's going to be cast as the next Batman right now on the internet every single day about like, oh, this guy's not right, that guy's not right, and I'm like, it's a cycle. It's a cycle.
It used to be a thing you would do amongst friends. Now you're amongst thousands and thousands of people,
millions of people,
that want to fight about fucking, and that's what makes it not as fun. It's not as fun anymore.
It's like, oh, he doesn't like look the vibe. He doesn't look like it, or I haven't seen anything that would make me believe. And I'm like acting is so different. You know what I mean? You can become anything at any time if you are that skilled. Sure. If the writing is good, if the directing is good, if the actor is that good, they can change into that character, into whatever it is. So just because you see them in something and you didn't like them.
Did you see Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and Tony Stark? No, I didn't until I saw that trailer. When I saw that trailer, I said, "Oh my God, that's Iron Man."
I don't think anybody was thinking about Iron Man.
Well, at that time, nobody was thinking.
What I'm saying,
that's what's kind of crazy. Back in 2008, like Iron Man was like a C-list Marvel hero.
Yeah.
Up until that movie came out, and now Iron Man is like the most popular Marvel. Avenger. Not the most popular, one of the most popular.
When I saw that trailer, I was like, oh my God, that is Iron Man. I cannot believe what I'm looking at right now. You know what I mean?
Well, let's not Let's not start talking about all of comic book movies.
No, no, no. What was your favorite scene, though?
Yeah, what was your favorite
Yeah, oh
scene?
yeah, we're gonna thanks for letting me talk about something. But no, to be honest, like I mean, you think yours is low hanging fruit. Mine's more low hanging. His performance, the Joker performance, is my favorite thing, and it's not like all the big stuff. It's a lot of like
Small stuff.
Yeah. Like I get caught up a lot of times in really great performances. I get caught up in like little moments or little choices, little ticks, little things that always stick with me. So like, like the moment when there's that scene where he's videotaping that guy that's impersonating Batman. That's, and he's like, and then he's like, look at me. And that voice, like, I'm like,
that's
dude, that's
so frightening.
It's frightening. Like his voice goes to this other place that's not that. And he's like, look at, you're like, okay, he's like fucking nuts. Like, so that was scary. Little things like that. Or like the scene when they're like, little quippy things, like where, it's probably a lot of it's improv. Like even the scene in the cell where he's clapping because Commissioner Gordon gets announced. He's like, Commissioner Gordon. And he's just like that was all. That was Kane. Yeah. It was improv. It's improv in the moment. Little one-liners, like where, the tractor trailer that the Joker was in gets crashed for a second, and the driver dies, and he gets in. He's like, "Scoot over, I'm driving now." Like little things like that. Like little quippy things. That's the thing that I love about watching the movie is just seeing all the little things. There's the scene where when he goes in and talks to all the gangsters, and he's like,
I love that scene.
He's like, this freak over here, and he's like, I'm not a freak, and he like bites his lip. He's like, I'm not a freak, like little things like that. I'm just like, God, it's just so masterful. Like he, like, even if he wouldn't have died, there would be no doubt that he should have won this Oscar.
Yeah.
And it's like, he just puts on a performance that would have sent him into the stratosphere.
Still to this day, the only Oscar Michelle Williams has accepted.
Yeah. Which is kind of sad because she's such an amazing actress.
She should have won one by now.
Two Oscars.
I still think of My Week with Marilyn a lot. Like that, she should have won for that.
I don't know. Them Venom movies, she's so good in.
So masterful.
No, the one she should have won if she would have went from lead actress to supporting, she would have beat Divine Joy Randolph that year, I think. Or was it the year before? The Fabelmans. The Fabelmans.
Oh, the Fabelmans. I thought you were going to think of Manchester by the Sea. She has that one scene.
Oh, that is amazing.
That's
She's
masterful.
Amazing. She definitely would have beat, I believe, is it Divine Joy Randolph or is it the same year?
I think it was.
Or it's the year before.
Oscar guy. Yeah.
Well, it's what's interesting about her is that you can tell that there's just something she's focusing on her family. I think that's why you don't see her act as much now. I think like
she's in a lot of indie stuff.
She is, out, but I think that she's raising their I think she's she's married to somebody else by now. It's yeah, his performance.
I remember that. And that was coincidentally the Oscar Critics Awards season where I started paying attention a lot more. And ironically, a lot of it was because of The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I mean,
Heath Ledger.
Everybody's got their way. Everybody's got their way in, and so it's through some means. And this was just such a big deal. Not every movie that you love so much is loved by a lot of people.
Well, yeah,
and so this was an example where something Andrew loved a lot was loved by everybody. So it kind of made you feel more welcome into being that movie person.
I'll talk about a 2007 movie down the line. I'm not going to, since he's already got a 2007 movie in here, I'm not going to talk about it for a while.
We're about to get to your next. You're the next person in line.
I got a 2007 movie that means quite a bit to me. That definitely down the road. Because that was like the year of this movie, but also the year of The Dark Knight. It was kind of like these two movies, even though one had nothing to do with the other in a lot of the categories.
Yeah. But that is the end. I think out of all the discussions we've had so far, this was maybe the most chaotic. And it kind of goes with the Joker in this, because I think we all lived very hard in the moment of this movie. I know obviously Andrew's obsessed. I would have to say, in recent years, I haven't watched this movie as much, but coming to revisit it again, I can remember why I was obsessed with this movie at the time. And so I would have to say I am still obsessed with this movie. I think a little more critical of it now. I think I have more things to say about it than
Yeah,
I
we've
did
grown
then.
a lot as movie fans since
Yeah,
then.
yeah. But
Yeah, same here.
I'm
I
still
mean,
obsessed with it because it's such a well-made movie and just so meticulously great.
just
And
Maggie Gyllenhaal that annoys me, and
it's a little
other than
annoying,
that,
but
I'm still obsessed. I'm still obsessed
yeah,
because it's my number one comic book movie of all time. Endgame came close to taking over, but it's still number
and
two.
Endgame has moments, but it can't stand on its own without 12 other movies behind it. So
Good point. Good
you know,
point.
so I could never put that near the top. But Dark Knight could be out by itself, and it would still be a great Batman movie, even without the Batman Begins. So
Yeah,
that's
but the third one's not great. But
yeah, who cares? I don't care what you think about it. I'm with you. It's not the best one, but honestly, I started out where you're at, and as I've watched it more, it's actually it's kind of an interesting movie with ideas. So, but maybe down the line we'll talk about that. But that is it for this chaotic discussion of The Dark Knight from 2008. Thank you, Andrew, for presenting it to us for this. And now we move on to Dan's pick for next time. So tell us, what are we switching to? Throw us a curveball.
well, I mean, we're in the middle of baseball season. We got the big playoff push. My team's really in a fight for the head of wild card and possibly the American League East with the evil empire of the New York Yankees. And I have a movie that I watched. It was, I believe, Roger Ebert. It was Ebert and Roper at the time, I believe it could have been, or one of the groups after them, because they kept the show going for a while. It was like Ben Lyons and Mankiewicz one season and whatever. They had brought this movie up. I had no clue about this movie. I never heard about this movie. And it was a movie called Game 6. I said, Game 6? Game 6? What's Game 6? That sounds familiar to me. And wow, okay. A lot of people have not seen this movie. But if you're a fan of the Boston Red Sox, you know about this movie.
Well, don't start describing it yet.
No, I'm not
leave
gonna.
that. Yeah, it's a very important movie to Dan, obviously, because he's a Boston Red Sox fan. I think Andrew's also as well. So we'll get into it on our next episode of Movies Down Memory Lane.
We shall.
But before we head out,
first time watch for you guys?
It'll be a first time watch for me. Yeah.
Same here.
Oh, wow, this is great. I love this. This is going to have a discussion.
It's going to be an unwatched pile / unwatched pile.
Yeah, how about that? We got Movies Down Memory Lane mixed with unwatched pile.
Yeah, except I don't own it, so I'm not buying it until I watch it.
$3.99 on Fandango at home.
Yeah, I'm going to rent it or whatever I got to do. I'm not going to buy it right away. But before we go, I do want to bring up that as I've been kind of talking about it for months now, that we are going to have merch now. We have merch for Chasing Labels and eventually for some of these other shows, probably do an unwatched pile shirt maybe down the line. I don't know about Movies Down Memory Lane. I don't know how much marketability that has, but we'll see. But we do have merch for the podcast and the branding that I'm coinciding with that, which is called B-Roll Bandits. I'll bring it up here. This is the Etsy page here. As you can see on the left side, we have Chasing Labels stuff. There's some stickers and some other things on the site as well. Let me get us down there. Sorry, here we go. Come down so you can see all the different stuff here. We got the B-Roll Bandit stuff. We got M. Night Shyamalan themed shirts, Michael Bay, Spielberg. We got sweaters. We got stickers of all different types. One of my favorite stickers here, we got the Matrix Physical Media is Inevitable. Cool sticker there. But yeah, you can go and find the link. We posted it on Facebook, our Facebook group page. You can go to Instagram. We have for B-Roll Bandits, and there's a link there at the top. You can go hit that, get to the Etsy page where you can buy stuff today. So
yeah, or you could go to Etsy.com and just search Chasing Labels.
Sure.
And things will pop up, and you can click on B-Roll Bandits, and that'll get you to the main page.
Yep.
So it's available now. And I've been sporting this now for Chasing Labels and various shows we've got. Steven's has got his M. Night Shyamalan shirt.
Yep. Twist responsibly, people.
I hear that.
You don't want to just do twists off the cuff. You got to be responsible about it. But all right. Well, that's it for this trip down memory lane. And hey, don't forget about the movies. Go back, watch them again. See you guys.